Hey, my friends. Y'all, it's that time of year. We're seeing all the posts inside the Facebook groups about all things competition. And while some of it might be having you questioning your life choices, I can tell you that competition can be fun and it can flow with ease. But it all starts with how we prep our students and our families. And so, in this week's episode, I decided I wanted to bring on my friend Allison Porter, and we're going to really jump into how to make competition flow with ease and have your students jumping for joy after each routine. Now, if you're joining us, I'm Erin Bird, and I support dance studio owners and educators to really grow their businesses without the burnout, sacrificing the personal life, or overwhelm. Because the truth is, you don't have to. You can have a studio that you love, that lights you up, that makes you want to leap for joy. And if you're just joining us now and you stumbled upon us, say hello. And this is an active conversation. So even if you come back in on the replay, because I know we always have lots of friends who come back in on the replay. If you come back in on the replay, we want to know that as well. You could drop a little hashtag replay into the comments and we can continue the conversation with you. So if you're joining us, say hello. We want to know where you are coming from. Now, I have to tell you that it's been a long time personally for myself of being in the competition world. Because of the nature of our businesses, we don't participate in competitions anymore. And so, hey, Miss Lisa, good morning. Miss Lisa Dance in Tampa is joining us. Say hello, hello, hello. So it's been a while since I have actually been in that world now personally. Now, this last weekend, we went and to a competition. The last couple weekends, we've gone to different competitions to support different friends and family members. And I can tell you that I saw so much good on the stage, but I also saw where, I think that some things could have happened. And this is just me being an outsider, like looking at things. I saw some things, not even just on the stage, but outside in the foyer, in the hallways, of things that, maybe we can look at to change competition from feeling like chaos to just ease and flow. So, my friends, drop it in the comments. Let me know. Are you in the full swings of competition season? Is it starting off with a bang? Are you already like, oh, I want to pull my hair out? So let us know. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my friend Allison. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to dive into this conversation because I think that it's one that we need to address. And so, oh, there you are. Hello. Good morning. I'm like,
Good
it's morning
morning.
for me. It's probably morning for most of our viewers. But go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we're going to dive into this conversation because I think it's one we should have. Oh, we already have a friend who's pulling their hair out from competition season. So, no good.
That's relatable. Relatable. So I'm Allison Porter, and I am a studio owner and a mom, and I developed a program called Stage Ready Pro that helps studio owners, teachers, dancers get prepared for their first, or even help them throughout the competition season. It is kind of like what you would get if you would go to a competition. And I developed it with my own child in mind. So I have this friend that was a judge, and I said, hey, to help my kid, like my own personal child, I have 6 children, but to help my dancer get better and make sure she's prepared for her first competition, would you take a look at her piece? And can I maybe video you giving critique so she can practice and get better? So that's how Stage Ready Pro was born.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Because, so many times I think this is a great place to kind of dive in. It's like, so I have, I have two daughters, and one is definitely into like musical theater, and she does all of her productions for their high school. And then I have my youngest daughter who, is a dancer, and she dances at a different studio. And as a parent, it can be really challenging as a studio owner, and your kiddo is a dancer, and it could be really difficult for them to want to receive feedback from their mom when it comes to those other things. So totally relatable. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna zip my lip, and I trust the process over here, so I'm gonna let them do their thing. Um, so what do you feel like is the, like, when you hear that people want to pull their hair out, they feel like everything is chaos. Why do you think that comp season feels so chaotic? Like, in your personal experience, or things that you see as you are going to, competitions, why do you feel like it causes so much angst and anxiety for people?
Yeah, I think as studio owners are wearing so many hats, and although we are dance experts, can we really be experts at every single area? I don't think so. I think we have to be like the chaos coordinators a little bit. So we need to delegate and help our kids any way we can by using resources to make our lives easier, for sure.
Yeah, I think that so many times it feels chaotic because also the timeline and the schedules are so intense. And that's not anything that necessarily we can control, but because we don't set ourselves up for success, to manage that, like you said, if we're not delegating properly, or if we're feeling like obligated as a studio owner to be there for every routine that happens over 4 days, from early in the morning to the wee hours at night, like, I don't think that we're setting ourselves up for success, and not for the long term, personally. And this is where it could start to make you want to pull your hair out. And then you have all, that's just one little layer, right, of this onion that we're peeling back. And so, like, if you have that, and then you've got, obviously, there's lots of emotions that can happen. And how do we manage those emotions? How do we set the precedents for our team, for our parents? Because let's be real, some of you here who are watching, I'm sure some of that will come up back in on the replay. Sometimes I hear that the parents feel like the hardest part of competition season, managing them, and or sometimes expectations, and we can dive into that a little bit more. But what do you think really creates ease? How do you make it feel good and easy, and like, yeah, I want to do this every single year. Yes, I want to do more. Do you have any little nuggets there about what creates ease when it comes to competition season?
I think one thing for sure, other than of course the obvious, which is preparation, um, is managing the parents' expectation and also managing the dancers' expectations. So I know there are, for example, my own personal studio. We went to a competition last a couple weeks ago, and there's different categories, right? So there's like novice, intermediate, advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did this crazy thing, and we told the truth, and we put our kids in advanced, and they were freaking out, and we were like, you can do it. You're at the studio this long. You should be able to be in this category. And we're going to be honest, and we're going to tell the truth. But it might be a harder category, but also other studios might also be cheating and putting their super advanced kids in intermediate. So we don't know, but we're going to manage the dancers' expectations
Right.
on the backside. And also, one other tip I think has been really helpful for us this year is we have a private Facebook group for our company parents, and we've been putting little tips on there to also help manage the parents' expectations as well. So I think that's been really helpful to build that community around, yes, competition is important for dancers to grow, but why are we doing it? Are we doing it for the plastic trophy, or are we doing it so they get better, so they have life experience, so they can win with grace and lose with grace, so they can, see their progress and aim for more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. I love the fact that, here's the thing. I think that there's so many life lessons that come through competition, and really it does start with setting the expectations inside the culture of your studio, and what is your intention, what's your objective and your goals for being a competitive studio, and making sure that it's a thorough line through not only how you deliver it as a studio owner, but how your staff deliver it, how everyone basically is on the same team as far as everyone has the same responses. So like if you can, it almost, I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't hate to say it actually, but like it's a system, right? In that you create what you want this culture to look like, and then you impart that and that culture and that wisdom on your staff and your team, and it's a ripple effect. It starts at the top. And so if we can do that and have lots of little love taps and lots of little points along the way, and bringing back the life lessons of, yes, would you rather win with a lie or be challenged and rise to the occasion and see where we land and what we need to do to get better, right? And so, yes, we should absolutely be, I'll preach for a second. We should be placing our students in the right categories. Y'all, you are not doing anyone any favors, and you are just feeding your own ego. That is what you're doing. And it's not even real. Like if you're not putting your students in the right category, you ain't that
Yes.
good. I'm sorry.
Yes, you shouldn't even be proud of yourself if you're winning and you're not telling the truth.
I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I know why people do it. I just personally would never do that. But yes, but what are we teaching our students when we don't put them in the right category? Right? So I love that you just led them with, hey, we're going to manage the expectations. And I had a studio owner the other day, mention to me that she was so worried, like she was getting worked up about competition season, and they hadn't gone to their first comp yet. It was coming up. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. And one of the things that came up was she was really worried about what everybody's expectations were. But when we actually dove into it a little bit further, sometimes it's actually us and our fear of how do we feel like we are going to show up? What are people going to think if we don't place about us? Are they all going to leave? Oh my gosh, y'all. They are not going to all leave. Promise you. And if they all leave, that means they were not the right fit, and you did not set the expectations and prep, and the culture didn't align. So my friends, we have to really know what we are. Like, who do you be? And then how do we make sure that everybody who's with us is with us and they're the right fit? Okay. And like Allison said, preparation creates confidence. And so this is why I absolutely love that you started Stage Ready Pro, because I think that when we go to competition sometimes, and I've read some posts, y'all, and I know people who are judges for many different competition. I know directors of different competitions. I know lots, we know lots of people inside that industry, and it's part of our industry, but it's its own little niche over here. And, Allison and I were talking real quick before, and you had mentioned something about basically, how judges, they're up there and they're not set up for, I don't want to say success, but the expectations of those judges sometimes are not in alignment with reality.
For
Right?
sure. Yes. I mean, I have some friends that are judges that say, gosh, I don't have the time to let these dancers know, just a couple of extra tips that would really help them, or I'm hungry, I need to use the restroom. I don't have the patience for this anymore at the end of the night, or things like that. So I think, and also their job is really to critique the students, yes, but they're part of the organization that feeds the competition. So are they giving the critiques that they would normally if they're really trying to help the students? There's just a lot of factors.
Right. Well, and it's so interesting to me because I think about other competitive sports out there. And let's use gymnastics as an example. When you go to compete in gymnastics, you're not getting critiques on your performance, you're getting a score. That's what you get, right? And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, there's guidelines for them, and there's right, and there's skill sets that have to be met and things of that nature. My point to this is that sometimes they think, well, like those judges' jobs are to give them all the feedback they need, so next time they could place higher and be number one. And like the reality is, the hard work has to be done inside the studio. And yes, do we love it if a judge can give a couple of things like, hey, I noticed you sickled your foot every time that you did, like, okay, perfect. But like, to go through and expect a judge to give, during the 2 minutes, every single minute is unrealistic. It's unrealistic. And so what we need to do is, I think, also kind of shift sometimes, like, yes, these judges are here to give feedback. They're here, to be able to help us grow. But that's why I love that you have set up Stage Ready Pro, so that, you have that moment of, let's say they've gone to the first competition and they didn't place where they wanted to place, and they can send it into you and get an outside set of eyes that are not tied to any particular competition. So you can't say, oh my gosh, that competition was rigged. Well, if you send it in, right, to an outside set of eyes, number one, it will help you get clarity and say, okay, if I had 4 different people say the same thing, and this person isn't even part of XYZ competition, then maybe I should look at that. Or, I thought I really connected with the music, but it didn't come across to anyone. It's something that
Yes.
we need to look at, right? And clarity, there have been times where and because of those expectations, you might get feedback, or you might get your critiques from judges, and you're like, there wasn't a single piece of valuable information in that. It was all, yes, girl, get it, or whatever. And so having someone like Allison and her team be able to go through and actually have the time, because we have to remember that when they're on stage for 2 minutes, that's what they get. They get 2 minutes to critique that and tabulate and right, and do all the things, because we also want to keep everybody happy. So what do you do? Like, if I were to send in a video of Peyton, do you prefer it to be like in studio, before competition season starts, after competition? Like, what's your, or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. We've had studios send in just in the practice. They will take a quick video. We've had other studios that are mid-season also send in videos of their dancer performing like at a competition. So they just take their media that they've gotten from competitions. So it's just, it's just a video of the routine. So it could be either on stage in costume or in the studio. And I think also you brought up some really great points about the real unrealistic expectations of judges and bringing in those outside eyes. Because as a studio owner, I'm in my 17th season now of owning a studio, and I look back at young adult me, and I was wearing all of the hats, and I didn't know quite how to clean routines like I do now, just starting out. And even I just wish that I had this tool available to me so long ago. Just having that outside set of eyes is so helpful and brings so much clarity for sure.
Well, and going back to the idea of like mom or as you grow or whatnot, and how many times, not even in dance, outside of dance, you are, you tell your child something over and over and over again, and they're like rolling their eyes, they're rolling their eyes or whatever. And then they come home a couple weeks later and they're like, my teacher told me this in class today, and like the first time they ever heard it.
Yes, they have an outside perspective. And they're like, oh my goodness, they said point my toes. And I've never heard that before.
And you're like, what? Right? And so it's having that outside set of eyes and that different perspective. And but I all the time, oh my gosh, even just as a mom, I'm like, you tell your child something over and over and over again and it's not landing. And then yeah, you're like, oh, because that's a new thing that you've never heard. Been saying that for the last 3 months, like whatever it is. But what I will tell you is I think that outside feedback and having those tools, the clarity creates happy customers, really. And when I say clarity, I mean in the expectations, right? Now you can set people up for as best as possible, but everyone is in charge of how they feel. So we can't change how that part, but if we do our job as far as trying to say, hey, we are going to go to competition, but that's just one layer, right? The other layers, we're going to have this outside critique to kind of help us grow through that. That's another thing. Or maybe, hey, we're going to add in convention because that's a different type of learning experience, right? And I think that when we're looking at the bigger picture for our students, the more opportunities or the more sets of eyes that we have helping our students, the further they can progress. And I think it's really great, and I think it's important and valuable for us to want our students to learn from other people outside of our studio. I think it's really important, especially if they want to go on and continue a career in the industry. So I think that it's absolutely a beautiful thing. And we all want happy customers, whether that's parents, students, we all want them to be happy. And so this is just one way to really create happy customers. And so I was chatting, who here is mid-season or has some students who might not have placed where they wanted to be placed, maybe, and they need just that additional little outside view. Or like you said, cleaning. I had another client who, same thing. She was just like, oh my gosh, Erin, I don't even know what to do right now with this group because they just don't get it that they compete next week and they think it's a fun game. I'm like, well, it should be fun. So it goes back to that thing. If you don't feel like they're taking it seriously, it seems like you're not having enough fun with it. So how do we make it fun? How do we make it fun?
Yes, I even was just talking with Erin earlier today, just before this, and I was telling her that I remember sitting in her seminar at Dance Teacher Web in Las Vegas this past summer, and I remember her tagline, the more fun you have, the more money you make. And that is so true. And I think kids like to win. It's fun. It's fun to win. Yeah. So how do we get there? We prepare them. We get better performance. We get better competition results. and people are happy.
And people are happy. That's what I love. So, my friends, I wanted to let you, well, before we jumped on, we had like a minute or two before we jumped on. And Allison was so sweet and said that she wanted to offer something special to everyone who is here today. So good. So I'm going to let you share what you want to share, what you want to give them. And I'm going to get this all up here so they could see where to check you out.
Sure. Yeah. So I thank you so much, Erin, for the opportunity to share. You were so sweet when I was nervous to launch. And when I first launched, you were the first one to reach out to me and say, the industry needs this. How can I help you with this? So I am so appreciative of you. Thank you so much. What I want to do is I want to offer a special discount. So we're going to give you 15% off through April. And so there is a code that you would enter, and it's SRP and then the and sign EB, Erin Bird. So SRP and EB. So then you can use that for your first.
I'm like, I put it in there. So I think that's right. If not, y'all also know that if you come back in on the replay, this is available through April. Like, that's amazing. And if you have questions about it, or if the code doesn't work, or because I typed it wrong or whatever, come in here, tag us, and then we will make sure to get you taken care of. And I am sure, I didn't ask, but I'm sure that if you have questions about Stage Ready Pro, about how you can use this tool for your students, then I'm sure you could tag Allison in any of the questions or message you, and you would be more than willing to answer those questions about this tool. And you have different options, you guys. It's so, one, she gave a discount, which is like amazing. But also on top of that, it like is so reasonable. I can't even, also, you know me, I'm like, are we charging enough? But the truth is, like, you have options from a critique from one judge, two judges. Like, there's different options available for you and your students. But I really do think that there's so much value in it. And yes, when Allison launched it, I was like, okay, we definitely need to share this information, because we want competition season to be fun. We want it to be fun, not only for your students, for your parents, but also for yourself, right? So that's what we want. So, my friends, don't hesitate, get in on this, and I will see everybody next week for another episode of the Erin Bird Live Show. Talk to y'all soon. Bye, friends.